Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva manusantadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavatveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Partha. The ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O Goddess, showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters, O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Shraddha Vibhaga Yoga, the 17th Adhyay, and Sri Krishna is teaching us, describing the greatness of that mystic mantra, the Om Tat Sat. Before starting any activity, any work, if we utter Om Tat Sat, automatically the nature of that work that we are going to undertake, it takes a different connotation. Now, for that matter, every work in this creation is a mix of good and bad. Everything that is there in this creation is associated, it is joined inherently with the pairs of opposites. There is nothing only good. There is nothing only bad. Everything is a mix. So even if we are doing, for that matter, any good work, some kind of badness is inherently attached to it. Now, Sri Krishna is telling us here in these verses that how that effect of bad, how that effect of evil, how that effect of wretchedness attached to any kind of work can be eliminated. Sri Krishna says, just utter Om, utter Tat, and convert every work into an act of worship. Convert every activity that we are doing. Convert that act into an auspicious act. Just even it might be an ordinary act. The attachment of the ill, the attachment of the evil, which is inherently attached to every work, automatically will get eliminated. And Sri Krishna has told us about the Om. He told us that Om, chanting Om, uttering Om before starting any activity will ward off all the evils. Whether we are performing yajna or tapas or dana, and it will be like, because the Brahmavadina, the knowers of the Brahman, the knowers of the ultimate highest knowledge, they utter Om before starting any work. So it is like getting that ultimate knowledge the moment we utter Om. And when we get that ultimate knowledge for doing any kind of work, the work becomes worship. Then for the Tat, Sri Krishna had told us that Tat is as good as seeking liberation, uttering Tat before starting any work. It is like seeking liberation, getting out of the cycle of birth and death, and then one becomes one with the Brahman. The Jivatman becomes one with the Paramatman. That is how the process starts, Sri Krishna says, when we are uttering Om and Tat. Now what about the Sat? Sri Krishna said Sat is in fact the mightiest of the 3 syllables. Om, of course, is a mystic syllable. It is another Brahma. Tat denotes the Brahman itself. Tat means it. It was. What is it? It is the Brahman. So Om is Brahman, the Tat is Brahman, and Sri Krishna says Sat is even mightier than Om and Tat. Although even Sat has sprung up from Om. But Sri Krishna now tells us about the greatness, about the mighty power that is hidden in this word, in this syllable, in this mystic syllable Sat. Sri Krishna told us, sadbhāve sādhubhāve cha sadityetatprayujyate praśaste karmaṇi tathā sacchabdaḥ pārtha yujyate. So Sri Krishna says, Sat has a very many connotations. Sat is used to signify the purity, the reality, the ultimate absolute existence. That is Sat. Sat is not something which comes and goes. Sat is not something which takes birth and dies. Sat is eternal. Sat is that ultimate reality. Sat is that absolute existence, Sri Krishna says. So sadbhāve sādhubhāve cha. Sat is also, it signifies ultimate goodness, ultimate purity, ultimate holiness. Whatever purity is there. Now, Brahman is purity itself. So, Sri Krishna says, sadbhāve sādhubhāve cha. Sat also signifies purity. Sat is also used to signify purity, the goodness. Sadityetatprayujyate. Like this, so many, there are so many things that can be signified by the word Sat, by this syllable Sat. It is used for, so it can be interpreted in so many ways. Sat can be interpreted as reality, Sat can be interpreted as goodness, and not only that, Sri Krishna says, praśaste karmaṇi tathā sacchabdaḥ pārtha yujyate. Oh Partha, the word Sat is also used to imply undertaking any auspicious task, any auspicious act. Praśaste karmaṇi. So Sat is not just a simple word like any other word. Sat is the part of that mystic formula Om Tat Sat. It has got its own inherent power. It has got its own inherent might of converting an ordinary act into an auspicious act. Converting just any normal task that we are doing into a highly elevated, evolved task. Not just an ordinary, normal, day-to-day task then. Even if it is implied in day-to-day task, that task becomes auspicious the moment Sat gets attached to it. Now, the word Sat is used in sense of absolute reality, absolute existence, and also of goodness, of purity. And so also, O Partha, the word Sat is used in sense of auspiciousness of any work that is being done. Now Sri Krishna doesn't say about yajna, tapas and dana. Sri Krishna says any work becomes praśaste, any work becomes auspicious, any work becomes a mighty work the moment Sat is uttered before starting that work. So just see the power of this great mystic mantra of Om Tat Sat. The knowledge, the reality, and the liberation. So these three paths, the knowledge, the liberation, and the ultimate reality, whatever you call it, ultimate reality, ultimate purity, and the one which makes every act that we do an auspicious one, a pious one, a holy one. Now Brahman alone is Sat and not the Jivatman. That is the basic reality. The Jivatman, the indweller in this body is not Sat. Indweller in his body has limitations. Now let us consider why this indweller has, descended from that Paramatman. Why this Jivatman has descended from the Paramatman. The Paramatman manifested Prakriti, the creation came into effect, and then And then that little form of a portion of the Paramatman, with the influence of that Prakriti, with the influence of Mahamaya, thought of experiencing this creation. Let me see what is there. Now Brahman, poor fellow, doesn't have the Atman, Paramatman, doesn't have any senses, any sense organs. How can Paramatman? Paramatman is beyond any experience. The only thing Paramatman can do is remain in that absolute bliss, the Anandam. Remain in that elevated level, beyond all these creation and the associations with this creation. Remain in that absolute blissful mood. No enjoyment, no experiencing. And then when that idea of experiencing the creation sparks, then that Atman, that portion of the Brahman, portion of the Paramatman gets here, looks for a body, looks for some kind of a vehicle in which it can travel and go from one place to another, see what is all around, how are the things in this creation. And that's how this Jivatman has got imprisoned in this cage of flesh and blood and bone. And then the journey starts, the experiencing. And then it keeps on adding to the experiences. The body keeps on working to give experience to that Jivatman. And in reality, what happens? The body takes up good and bad deeds. All that account of good and bad deeds done, that determine what is the next stage. From our very first birth till this birth, we have been behaving like this. The one who is there inside us has been with different bodies on this journey, doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that, accumulating bad, accumulating good, accumulating evil, accumulating holiness, and then ultimately the account book is tallied. What is the debit, what is the credit, depending on that. So the Jivatman is not Sat. It comes and goes through different bodies. Although the Jivatman doesn't come and go, the bodies come and go, but the journey of Jivatman continues. And therefore, Jivatman is not Sat. Only the Paramatman is Sat. Only the Brahman is Sat. Now, Brahman alone is free from blemish. Brahman doesn't have any good and bad. Brahman doesn't have any the opposites, pairs of opposites. It is only when Jivatman dwells in the body, gets afflicted with the pairs of opposites. And it is this body-mind-intellect complex which is experiencing this good and bad, this holy and unholy, this pious and the sinful things, sides of the things. It is this body that is experiencing. Brahman is beyond that. Brahman is free from blemish. Everything else has some trace of evil in it. Everything that is in this jurisdiction of the creation, that has a trace of evil in it. Now, how to ward off the trace of evil? Sri Krishna has given us that magic mantra here. Simply utter Om Tat Sat and ward off the evil attached to any karma. Why? There is a reason behind it. Because the moment we utter any of these mystic syllables, either singly or in unison, either as Om and Tat and Sat, or either as Om Tat Sat, what is happening? We are dissociating ourselves as doers of any karma. We are dissociating ourselves from the ownership of whatever act we are going to do. Then it becomes an act on behalf of the Brahman. He is the proprietor. He is the owner. He is the authority for doing that work. I am just an instrument. The moment that ownership is gone, The moment that ownership is gone, it becomes the act of Brahman, and since it is the act of Brahman, no evil can get attached to it. It has to be nothing but purity. It has to be nothing but Sat. So that is the highness, that is the might of this word Sat, which is the part of that holy mantra, the Om Tat Sat. The word Sat is used in benediction, approbation and sanction. The moment Sat is used, that means yes, it is a clean chit. A clean chit is given to perform any act without any evil attached to it, because it becomes the work of Sat. It becomes an act of the Brahman. It becomes an act of the Paramatman. Worldly life is ever wrought with evil. On that ground, man should not be always harping on bad, bad, bad. Now, we cannot always keep on harping on asat. This creation is asat, no doubt. We are part of this creation, so we are also in a way asat. But in reality, there is only one sat. So that sat, when one keeps on contemplating upon before starting any work, that attachment of asat to that act, it just gets destroyed. It just gets wiped out. Neither should one assume a pessimistic attitude. There should always be attempt to make the best of the existing evil. So how we can make best of the existing evil? Utter Sat and destroy that asat. Destroy that element of wretchedness attached to any act. Destroy that element of negativity attached to any act by proclaiming Sat, by uttering Sat. And for this purpose also, word Sat is used for transforming an ordinary act, for transforming an evil act into an auspicious act. Because then we are not the doers at all. The moment we get this understanding, it is the Lord's work, it is the work of the Brahman, it is the assignment of Brahman which I am doing as an instrument. The moment that understanding takes place, the moment that understanding, that realization takes birth, I am not the doer. The moment I know that I am not the doer, there is no desire for any fruit of doing that action. It becomes a selfless work, and the selfless work becomes worship. So that is the greatness of word Sat that Sri Krishna has explained to us in this 26th Shloka of the 17th Adhyaya Shraddha Vibhaga Yoga of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swami.